Jerome Powell came out today, half a point drop on the interest rate, not the 0.25 basis points, but a full half a point. Big deal. Now, partly why, people are like, why didn't you drop a quarter point in the spring? And this should have been a quarter point now. They know that. It wasn't that the economy has changed in any material way. It's that they are literally behind in coming down off the cliff. You had interest rates at a 26-year high. And then they should have remedied it sooner. 7/14 a point. Yeah. So here he is telling us about it. Real news right out of the gate. I will do what I can. Let's see. How do I keep this interesting so that you guys can, who would I have deal with this? You know what? I'll bring in AI to explain it to everyone. Maybe that'll help because it might be very confusing. I'll bring in Hal, and he'll be great at explaining this. It's a good idea.
My colleagues and I remain squarely focused on achieving our dual mandate goals of maximum employment and stable prices for the benefit of the American people. Our economy is strong overall and has made significant progress toward our goals over the past 2 years. The labor market has cooled from its formerly overheated state. Inflation has eased.
In case you're not paying attention, there's this illusion. He is a Volkerite, was a big believer in interest rates as the driver for fixing inflation, because inflation is largely based on, and if I get too technical, let me know. I'm a robot. I'm not used to talking to people. But too much money means there's too much money to charge people for stuff. So people run their prices up because they're like, oh, look at all this cash floating around. I want a little more of that cash floating around. And then they charge more for their stuff. And that's why people believe that we have inflation when we do not at all in any way. The reason we have inflation is because of supply shock. And the best example of that probably is avian flu making egg prices go up.
Eased substantially from a peak of 7% to an estimated 2.2% as of August. We're committed to maintaining our economy's strength by supporting maximum employment and returning inflation to our 2% goal. Today, the Federal Open...
Fabulous. Now, explain to everyone how long it will take for inflation, as you call it, which is really supply shock. All those things that arrive at your house in boxes. Yeah, that's it. They're getting that stuff to your doorstep. You understand? Is a little harder than it used to be. Has nothing to do with how much money's available. Has everything to do with the fact that we are moving supply chains closer to home, which is expensive, and slavery makes stuff cheap.
The Open Market Committee decided to reduce the degree of policy restraint by lowering our policy interest rate by 0.5 percentage point. This decision reflects our growing confidence that with an appropriate recalibration of our policy stance, strength in the labor market...
Wait. Boy, is that recalibration's doing a lot of fucking work, don't you think? An appropriate recalibration of our policy stance. So what was wrong? Was it the economy? No. Was it the money supply? No. It was what was out of sync. What did they just say? Recalibration. Whoops. Hey, man, say recalibration again. The recalibration of the money supply. Listen to this one more time.
To our 2% goal. Today, the Federal Open Market Committee decided to reduce the degree of policy restraint by lowering our policy interest rate.
Decided to lower the degree of policy restraint. Man, I'm feeling myself getting smooth in the front just listening to this guy. By lowering our policy interest rate
by 0.5 percentage point.
Right, as double what everybody thought they were going to do.
This decision reflects our growing confidence that with an appropriate recalibration of our policy stance...
With an appropriate recalibration of our policy stance.
Strength in the labor market can be maintained in a context of moderate growth and inflation moving sustainably down to 2%.
You hear that? Yeah, those things are happening, but they've got to moderate their policy stance.
We also decided to continue to reduce our securities holdings. I will have more to say about monetary policy after briefly reviewing economic developments.
Let me translate this for you, and then we'll move on. Guys, we fucked up. We are having no material impact on the overall economy at all. All we're doing is making it harder for people to buy houses and borrow money. We're not doing shit about the cost of items. We never can, we never will, because it didn't get caused by the monetary policy. It got caused by supply shock and moving factories home. Reshoring factories is expensive, because if people in Xinjiang are forced to pick the cotton used in the t-shirts that you buy, then they'll be $1 cheaper. And then once you stop doing that, there you go.
Recent indicators suggest that economic activity has continued to expand at a solid pace.
Right. So technically, if you really believe what you were saying, you wouldn't lower interest rates. But you know you've been bullshitting this whole time.
GDP rose at an annual rate of 2.2% in the first half of the year, and available data point to a roughly similar pace of growth this quarter.
It's actually higher. I love how he says roughly. Yeah, very, very roughly.
Growth of consumer spending has remained resilient, and
damn it,
investment in equipment and intangibles has picked up from its anemic pace last year.
Anemic compared to what? The giant pace coming out of COVID, where everybody was buying up every goddamn piece of equipment they could because they were all sitting around rotting?
In the housing sector, investment fell back in the second quarter after rising strongly in the first.
Investment. Not home sales. Investment.
Improving supply conditions have supported resilient demand and the strong performance of the U.S. economy over the past year. In our summary of economic projections, committee participants generally expect GDP growth to remain solid, with a median projection of 2% over the next few years.
So that should settle it for you right there, kids. This half basis point drop is about him realizing we've been talking out of our ass. None of the economic issues we've been dealing with have anything to do with money supply, and all we're doing is putting a crimp in people's ability to grow their business and grow their household. That's it. You're welcome. And that's really what it is. That's just so you know. Now, what I'm sure what a bunch of you are asking is what did Donald Trump say about it? Because find somebody who, let's see, can I find a good picture of him explaining something in a way where you know he knows what he's talking about? How about this one? How about this right here? This picture right here. There you go. How do I bullshit my way through this one? He said it was a big cut. That's the quote. The full quote: to cut it by that much, assuming they're not just playing politics, the economy would be very bad, Trump told reporters. No, it wouldn't. That's that's why everybody thought it was going to be a 0.25 cut. Just so stupid. I want it to suck. Make it suck. And it's not. It's not. It's doing just fine. Yeah. Jerome Powell is eating the dogs. He's eating the cats. So, needless to say, huge news. But in the in the realm of who gives a shit, very, very, very difficult for anybody sort of politically to pick off a win in that regard. They're just, I mean, the nice thing is the Biden administration has been really hands off with the Fed, which is very smart, whereas Trump was trying to force them to negative interest rates. And if you want to hear a big rant on that, go follow Mark Cuban on Twitter. Holy God. He's been finally somebody that other people will listen to instead of me, has been going after him for this stupid fucking talking point. Hold on. Donald Trump wants, and this is the way I'll summarize it as smoothly as I can. Donald Trump wants the federal government, aka the taxpayer, to pay people to borrow money. Not just give away money for free, loan money for free, but get no interest rate on that loan at all. And yeah, so the taxpayer will pay people to take out loans. Can you wonder why a guy would it shock you that somebody with massive amounts of bullshit debt would want something like this? You think? Yeah, that's not a loan. It's an excellent point. It's basically like a key to the bank, which is what he wants. He was going to use that plan, I guess, to pay down the debt he created, right? But in the meantime, he was also going to, I guess, refinance all of his fucking loans. Now, there was there's an original story that came out, it's like 3 years ago now, 2.5 years ago, is that during like the lowest point for interest rates, Donald Trump was convinced he could bully Powell into lowering them to negative. And so it got down to about 2%. Donald Trump's loans on the Chicago Tower, the Trump Tower, Chicago, his loans somewhere in the order of like 6 to 7%. He pays 6 to 7% interest, hundreds of thousands of dollars a month in interest payments on that. And he thought, I'm going to get the Powell to drive the interest rates down negative, and then I'm going to refinance at a negative interest rate, and I'm not going to pay any interest at all. If anything, I'll be in the black with the amount of money I can get. I'll use extra money I get from the government to pay off other loans from other places. He really believed this was going to happen, and so when a chance came around to refinance his investment in the tower, all the other investors in Trump Tower all renegotiated their loans from 4 to 6%, depending on what they had at the time, down to 2%. And Trump was like playing chicken with the whole thing and was like, nah, fuck that. It's going to go to negative. I'm not going to bother. And he didn't. And it went to 2. And then it went right back up to the highest point it's been in 26 years. And so Donald Trump pays hundreds of thousands of dollars more than he could have, and hundreds of thousands of dollars more than he was paying interest on the loan for the Chicago Tower while everybody else is paying less because, art of the deal.